This is the first chapter of the New Testament encyclical epistle known as the letter of Jude. This is the first verse of this letter. So we have Judas. This is translated Jude normally. It's, of course, Judas or Judah, same as the name of the tribe of Israel. So this is a pretty common name in the first century among Jewish people, so Judas or Jude. And then the first descriptive phrase he gives is Jesu Christu, Jesus Christ, given to us in the genitive. The genitive coming in front of the noun to which it belongs, so doulos, the word for slave, so Judas, a slave of Jesus Christ. That's his first designation, of course, putting himself in the most humble possible arrangement here. And then the second phrase he gives is adelphos, the word for brother. This is in the nominative, but postpositive, soft conjunct. Jacobu. This is Jacob, actually, or James is the way it's normally rendered. This is, of course, there's some questions as to which James this is referring to. I think the consensus and correct consensus would be that this is the James who winds up being the James connected with the New Testament epistle of James, who was also taken to be the James mentioned in Acts as essentially the pastor, the chief leader of the church in Jerusalem, and who is also taken to be the half-brother of Jesus. We don't know exactly the family connection. Was he later born of Virgin Mary? That, of course, is viewed, accepted by many Protestants. Catholics object in principle to that. But one way or another, it seems that that's the James in view. If it is indeed the half-brother of Jesus, then, of course, it would make Judas or Jude have the same status. It's typically understood that he was trying his best not to try to appeal to some sort of filial connection to Jesus to sort of increase his status or anything like that. So we're going to leave it at that. Anyway, he seems to be tied to James, and he's probably mentioning James here because James would be a well-known character. And so it's more or less tying him to someone who would otherwise be recognized in the community to which he's writing. So Jude, a slave of Jesus Christ, a brother of James, and then several phrases that are all connected here to tois, which is the masculine dative plural. So to thee would be, and then so to thee, and then the word that goes with it, agapemenois. This is from agapao, means to love. This is the perfect passive participle, and it's masculine plural dative. So it's, of course, going with the dative of this article. To the ones that are loved, the passive voice here. It's perfect, so it means have been and continue to be loved. And then the phrase that's inserted here, in, again with the preposition, taking the dative here, in God, and then Father. So they are, it's to those who are beloved in God, Father. And so that's the first phrase that's used. They're beloved in God. Beloved by God would be a way of thinking about it. Kai, and then the next one, Jesu Christu. Now this is again in the dative. It's so they are beloved in God the Father, and with reference to Christ, and then the participle that goes with this is teteremenois. So they are beloved in God the Father, and from tereo, to keep, to hold on to, and that is in connection with Jesus Christ. Now the question has been raised sometimes, are they being kept by Jesus Christ or for Jesus Christ? Either one would be a proper construction of the dative. I think the consensus is that they're being kept for Christ, preserved, held on to, guarded, and so on, with respect to their being possessed of Christ, the belongings of Christ. And then the third phrase we have here is kletos, which means called. So again, all of these in the dative, all of these in a sense connecting back to this article. They are beloved in Christ, they're kept for Christ, and they're called. The calling, of course, is a common New Testament theme, usually connected with being called by God unto salvation. That's probably the sense that's in view here. So this is the introductory statement of this remarkable, somewhat short letter. Jude giving this identification of himself and identifying those to whom he's writing. They're not identified by any particular regional area. We don't know what city they were in or if they're any city in particular at all. It may simply be a purely encyclical letter intended for all of those who will eventually be the recipients of it.